Thank you, everybody, for joining. And let me thank the many of you around the country who have attended the Fighting Oligarchy tours that we have been doing over the last 2 months. As you may know, so far, we've been to Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, Colorado, and Arizona. And the turnouts, I am very happy to tell you, have been extraordinary. Well over 100,000 people combined have come out. And Republicans, surprise, surprise, are taking notice. They are quite concerned. Both Trump and Musk have had to respond, and not surprisingly, they've responded with lies. Mr. Musk claimed that many of the 34,000 people who came out to our Denver rally were paid organizers, and Trump was busy boasting falsely that his turnouts were always larger than ours. Not quite the case. On Saturday, this Saturday, the next phase of the Fighting Oligarchy tour begins. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and I will be starting off in Los Angeles. We'll then be going to Utah, Idaho, back to California to 2 rural areas in conservative districts, and then we'll be finishing up in Montana. And most of these events will be held in congressional districts that are represented by Republicans, and there is a reason why we are doing that. Let me say a few words about what we hope to accomplish with these events. Number one, in these extraordinarily difficult and depressing times, I want people in the communities that we visit and people throughout the country to understand that they are not alone when they feel outraged by what Trump is doing to our country. In fact, when they stand there amidst thousands and thousands of their neighbors in opposition to oligarchy, opposition to authoritarianism and xenophobia and attacks on the working class, they very quickly understand that they are not part of some fringe minority who are opposing Trump, but that they belong to a strong majority of Americans who want this country to move in a very different direction than where Trump is taking us. What Trump and his friends claim they have this huge mandate, nothing you can do about it. And what these rallies are doing is proving them wrong and providing hope for people all across this country. Secondly, what we do in these rallies is that given the nature of corporate media and the dominance of big money over the 2 major political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, it is vitally important that we provide a progressive political and economic analysis that many people around the country have really never heard. And one of the main reasons that the establishment is able to maintain the rigged economic and political systems that we have is they do that by deflecting attention away from the most pressing problems that working people face every single day. And when people are not provided with rational explanations as to what's going on in their lives and in the world in which they live, they say, nobody understands what I'm going through. Everybody, is full of crap. Why should I participate in the political process? And that is, my friends, exactly what the moneyed interests want. They want you to give up. They want you to believe that there are no solutions to the problems that we face. Let me give you just a few examples of how the establishment functions in that regard. Now, I want you to stay with me here. When is the last time that you heard a serious discussion or any discussion at all on television about the unprecedented level of income and wealth inequality that we're currently experiencing? Today in America, 3 people, Musk, Bezos, and Zuckerberg, combined own more wealth than the bottom half of American society, 170 million people. Think that's an important issue? Yeah, I do. I think that's maybe the most important issue that we face from an economic perspective. But we don't talk about it. You're not going to see that on TV. You can watch TV 24 hours a day. It is not going to be discussed because the people who own the networks don't want serious discussion about the immorality and the economic injustice that takes place when so few own so much and so few have so little. And I'll tell you something else that we don't talk about, but we do in these rallies. And that is in the richest country in the history of the world, which we are today. 60% of our people live paycheck to paycheck. And working class Americans, as a result of the stress they experience daily, just trying to survive, trying to put food on the table, working class people have a 7-year shorter life expectancy than the wealthy. In other words, being working class in America is a death sentence. Do you hear anybody talking about that horror? I don't. And we do. And that's what I talk about when we go on this Fighting Oligarchy tour. We talk about the reality that in America today, unbelievably, over 20% of senior citizens in this country are trying to survive on less than $15,000 a year. Think about it. 80, 90 years of age, trying to get by on less than $15,000 a year. We talk about the fact that some 800,000 people in America are homeless, and 20 million Americans, including many of you, are spending 40, 50% of your limited incomes on housing. We talk about the fact that in America we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth, all taking place in the richest country in the history of the world. Do you hear folks talking about it? They don't. And it's important that we talk about it so that people have an understanding of what is going on and why it is going on. Right now, as I think all of you know, progressives understand, our current campaign finance system is absolutely corrupt. Corrupt. As a result of Citizens United, billionaires are able to spend unlimited amounts of money in the political process. So Elon Musk spends $270 million to elect Trump as president, and surprise, surprise, he gets the most important position in government. Only cost him $270 million. That's not bad. But it's not just Musk and it's not just Trump. It is billionaires in the Democratic Party who threaten candidates from all over the country that if they speak to the real issues facing working people, they're not going to get the campaign financing that they need. So we have a corrupt campaign finance system that is hardly talked about at all. But it is destroying American democracy. Well, guess what? We talk about it, and we're going to help lead the fight with your support to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. In addition to what I've just said, there's another reason why we're going around the country. And that is, it is absolutely imperative right now, this moment, that we mobilize Americans to defeat Trump's what is called the reconciliation bill that will provide over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1% and pay for that by making massive cuts to Medicaid, nutrition, and other programs that working families desperately need. These guys on top, these oligarchs, really have no shame. Their religion is greed, and they want more and more and more. And if they have to throw millions of kids off of the health insurance they have through Medicaid, if they have to make it impossible for seniors to get into a nursing home, because Medicaid pays a lot of that, if they have to destroy or devastate our primary health care system by cutting funding for community health centers, and Medicaid provides a lot of that funding, that is what they will do. So right now we're mobilizing people all over this country to tell their members of Congress, do not vote for this reconciliation bill, which will provide massive tax breaks to the very richest people in this country and cutting the programs that working families need. Further, while it is absolutely imperative that we as progressives every single day go on the attack against Trump's horrific agenda and his authoritarianism, it is equally important that we bring forth a bold agenda for the future. We are, again, not only are we the richest country on earth, there is, as all of you know, an explosion taking place in technology in terms of artificial intelligence and robotics. The job you have will likely not be there in 10 or 15 years. So how do we use that technology to improve life for working families rather than just make the very, very richest people in our country that much richer? So technology has the potential to improve life for ordinary people. If, for example, we are significantly increasing worker productivity as a result of AI or robotics, should we not be lowering the work week to 32 hours so that workers have more time to spend with their families, more time for leisure, more time for friends, more time to do the things that they want to do? In other words, let's make sure that technology works for the vast majority of the people, not just the CEOs and the people who own that technology. Furthermore, I hope everybody understands that we are far, far behind many other wealthy nations in terms of the kind of social safety net that their citizens enjoy. We are the only major country on earth, for example, not to provide health care to all as a human right. Right now, what you're seeing is Republicans wanting to cut Medicaid, which will be devastating to the whole healthcare system, all aspects of the healthcare system. That's what they want to do. And Democrats are saying, well, we want to protect the Affordable Care Act. That's great. Well, guess what? We're going to fight any cuts to Medicaid, but nobody I know thinks the Affordable Care Act is great. The healthcare costs in America are now twice as much per capita as almost every other nation on earth. We have 85 million Americans who are uninsured and underinsured. We have over 500,000 Americans who go bankrupt due to medically related debt. Over 60,000 people die every year because they cannot afford to go to a doctor. And our life expectancy is lower than any other major country on earth. That is not a healthcare system that is working. So our view, and I think the view of a majority of Americans, is we got to junk the current healthcare system. We've got to move toward Medicare for all. Healthcare is a human right. And we bring forth that agenda and we explain what it means to the American people. When you can go to a doctor whenever you want, you don't have to take out your wallet. You don't have to take out your credit card. I think that will be a significant step forward in terms of advancing good public policy, and it works politically as well. Short term, we need to expand Medicare to cover dental, vision, and hearing. Very, very important for senior citizens. We have got to cut the cost of prescription drugs in half. How absurd is it that in some cases we are paying 10 times more for the same exact drugs as the people in other countries are paying? And while Trump and Musk are trying to decimate the Social Security Administration, making it harder for people to access the Social Security that they paid into, we have got to expand Social Security by lifting the cap on taxable income. You do that, you can extend the life, the solvency of Social Security for decades and greatly increase the benefits by at least $2,400 that senior citizens in this country receive. So when seniors are living on $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 a year, our job is not just not to cut Social Security, it's to expand Social Security benefits. And when we're talking about the needs of seniors, we have got to rethink our whole pension system in this country. You know, it will shock some of the younger people to know that there was a time, not so many decades ago, when if you work for a large company, the expectation was, and millions of people did receive, a defined benefit pension. That means you knew, as part of the benefits that you received, you knew that when you retired, you would have a pension there for yourself in addition to Social Security. But over the last many years, corporations have cut those back, and as a result, we have a lot of seniors who are really struggling. It goes without saying that we've got to raise the minimum wage in this country, which is now a starvation wage of $7.25 an hour to at least $17 an hour. And I'm happy to tell you that last week, as part of this budget resolution process, we got every Democrat to support raising the minimum wage to $17 an hour. We got one Republican. So we're making progress, but we've got to win this fight. Millions of people are working for starvation wages, and that is not acceptable. And when we talk about the progressive agenda, you and I know that workers in unions are able to negotiate decent wages, decent benefits, decent working conditions in a far stronger way than non-union workers are able to do. And that's why we've got to pass the PRO Act to make it easier for workers to join in unions. There's a lot of other stuff that's out there. Right now, you know, we have a president who thinks that climate change is a hoax. Well, that is a very, very dangerous situation, because as all of you know, climate change is not a hoax. Climate change is an existential threat to the planet, and the United States has got to lead the world. We've got to work with China, not against China, in cutting carbon emissions and saving the planet. So a lot of stuff that is out there that I think people want to hear. Not good enough just to go after Trump every day. We got to do that. But we have got to provide people with a vision for the future, which says that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, all of our people deserve a decent standard of living. And this, my friends, this is not utopian thinking. You know, this is, oh my goodness, we can do all these things. Many of these things, many of these ideas, progressive ideas that I've been talking about, guess what? They exist in other countries around the world. In other countries around the world, college is free. Medical school is free. In many other countries that don't have the level of income and wealth inequality that we have, because they're rich, are paying their fair share of taxes. So how do we go from here to there? Well, one of the things that we are doing, and it's part of the fighting oligarchy effort, is to organize at the grassroots level. And with your help, we are hiring organizers all over this country. I've just, in the last few days, talked to organizers and hundreds of people at the grassroots level in Iowa and in Nebraska. And we're mobilizing these people to go out, knock on doors, to hold town meetings, to make sure that their members of Congress do not vote for this disastrous legislation of tax breaks for the rich and cuts to Medicaid. And ultimately, you know, as I have believed for my entire life, and what history tells us is that real change never takes place from the top on down. It's always the bottom on up. It's when ordinary people stand up and fight for justice. And right now, more than any other time in modern history, that is exactly what we need to do. We need to build a strong grassroots progressive movement. We need a political revolution in this country where working people stand up and fight for their rights. So that is kind of a thumbnail sketch of what we are doing. And as I mentioned, we're going to be in a number of states in the coming days. We're going to be in California, Utah, Idaho, and Montana. I hope if you live in those areas that you'll come and visit us. And if not, we'll probably come to a community near where you live at some time in the next few months. So once again, thank you all for what you're doing. A critical moment in American history. Let's stand up. Let's fight back. We have the majority on our side. We can take on the oligarchs. We can take on Trump. We can beat them if we stand together. Let's do it. Thank you very much.